Hi, welcome back. My name's Kathy from Software Solutions, and we're going through a series of videos about how we can transform data in Power Query and within Power BI. What I want to show you now is basically some of the functions, for example, that appear on both the Transform tab, such as Format, Extract, Statistics, Standard, Scientific, Date and Time, but they also appear on the Add column. There's Statistics, there's Standard, there's Trigonometry, Rounding, Date and Time. So why are a lot of the buttons on both the Transform tab and on the Add column tab? Well, the difference is, do you want to, let's say we wanted to extract something. Do you want to extract something and replace the column with that extraction? In other words, you want to transform and replace? Or do you want to add an additional column to your data set, which is the extracted results? So you make that choice. Do I want to transform and replace what already exists, in which case I go to the Transform tab, or do I want to create an additional column of that transformed data, and so in which case I go to the Add column. So make that choice. Now what I want to show you is what you can do using both of these. I'm going to first of all start with the sales 2019 to 2021, and I'm going to click on the brand column. And what I'm wanting to do here is when I hit the drop down as if I was going to filter, I notice I see two instances of Fabricam and two instances of Litware. Now that happens a lot when the data comes especially from Excel, because when people enter data into an Excel spreadsheet, they often type Fabricam and then tack a space on the end. And Fabricam space is quite different from Fabricam. So that is probably why there's two instances of Fabricam. So what we need to do is we need to trim the spaces off the front or the end of any entry so that that entry only appears once in that list. Let's do that. Now I'm wanting to not add a column to my data set and create an extra column. I'm wanting to transform this column. So that makes me go to the Transform tab. I then want to go to the Format option where I have the options here to trim and to clean. If I choose trim, for example, and I'm just resting on it so I can read the tooltip, it will remove any leading or trailing spaces from each cell. And that's what we want to do, because I think that's the reason we're seeing two Fabricams and two Litwares. So I'm going to go trim. Now it happens really quickly. There's my trimmed step there, that I don't sort of really notice if anything's happened. But if I hit the filter drop down, I can see there's now one instance of Fabricam and one instance of Litware. Now if my users have a tendency to put a lot of spaces at the end of things, I may actually repeat that format trim for country, and I might repeat it also for month. That way it's a step that's part of the natural transformation of this particular data, and it will always, as part of its transformational steps, trim out any leading or following spaces from those three columns. So that's one of the options in the Format button. Some of the other options that you can have, for example, uppercase or lowercase or capitalize each word. I'm going to start first of all with uppercase. Of course, that converts it to capitals. I can then change it to lowercase, and that's another step. Or I can then transform it and capitalize each word. So that's another step. So I'm going to remove, and remove each of those steps. So you can easily use the format to change the case, trim any white spaces, and the clean is if you want to remove any non-printable characters. Let me just get that to pop up again. So sometimes in Excel, Alt-Enter is used for a carriage return or a second line in the same cell. Tabs, carriage returns, enters, those sorts of things can be removed with the clean option. Okay, what I now want to do is I actually want to get rid of all instances of the word limited from the brand column. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use the replace values. So I transform this column, so transform in the ribbon, replace values. I'm going to tell it to replace space limited with nothing. And this is how you delete values. Replace that with nothing, and when I go OK, all instances of space limited will be removed from that column. Now, the reason I wanted to remove space limited is now I want all brands to have the word limited on the end, because these are all limited liability companies. And I didn't want to have Acme have limited twice. So I remove limited, and now I'm going to go to format, and I'm going to add a suffix. You can add a prefix, something that precedes each of these brands, or in this case, a suffix which follows. I'm going to ask it to put space limited at the end of every single brand and OK. And so that's your format and suffix option. So that's the format button. Uppercase, lowercase, capitalize each word, trim any trailing or leading spaces, clean any non-printable characters, add a prefix or add a suffix uniformly throughout that entire list. And because we've gone for transform, it's actually transforming that brand and not creating an additional column. Okay.